I am anyway, is quite stormy, but hope everybody is doing well in it and stays safe. We'll start off today with our land acknowledgement. So on this 12th day of July 2022, we acknowledge that this sacred land on which Smiths Falls is now located has been a site of human activity for over 10,000 years and is rich in Indigenous history. This land is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We are grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and water in order that we might meet here today. We are also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contribution in the making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smiths Falls. We are mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile with all our relations. Together, may we care for this land and each other, drawing on the strength of our mutual history of nation building through peace and friendship, being mindful of generations to come. All right. Very nice words to start off this afternoon. We'll start off with our meeting proceedings today with any amendments to the agenda. Does anyone have anything to amend? What about you, Kevin? Is there anything that you would like amended?
No, I'm good.
You're good? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move to disclosures of conflicts of interest then. Does anyone have anything there to disclose? Seeing none. What about you, Kevin? Anything there?
Nope.
Okay. I'm seeing on my agenda that there are no minutes to adopt this afternoon. Nadine, does that still stand?
That's correct. We just wanted to make sure we had quorum for those type of things, so we'll get those for our next meeting so that everyone can adopt them.
Okay, good enough. Thank you very much. There's no delegations this afternoon to hear from, and nor is there any correspondence items to review. We'll move right into our priority issues, and the first issue on the agenda is the patio bylaw. And I understand that we have a summer student from planning committee to share that with us today. So I'll call on her, and I believe her name is Aram. So I will give the floor over to her.
Hi, everyone. My name is Aram. I'm a summer student with the planning department. I'm spending my co-op with them. So currently we're working on updating the patio bylaw of the town of Smiths Falls. This patio bylaw is from the year of 2013. So that's why we want to update it, because it's pretty old. Within the new version of the patio bylaw, we are specifically looking for opening the streets and the sidewalk to the pedestrians, especially to the restaurants as well, to be able to expand their businesses into the streets. And we want to make sure that the accessibility of all members of the public have been kept in place. That's why I have been invited to this meeting to discuss with you and ask your opinion about the possible options. You might have received a a survey from Nadine and that I made. I'm not sure if you went through and looked at it, but can I share my screen in here?
Mhm.
Okay, so I just share my screen with you guys. Please confirm if you see my screen.
Yes, that's good, Aram.
Okay,
See it?
so in this has been shared with the members of the Smith Falls community, and people had the chance to go in and read through and answer the questions. Now, I'm just gonna scroll down to the survey. The question I have for this committee is there are two options for the patio in terms of restaurants or any business in the Smith Falls. The number one option is for them to put up the patio on the sidewalk, and then this is their storefront, and the passageway of pedestrians will be between the storefront and their patio. As you can see, this is a like elevation view, and this one is a plan view. As you can see, people walking by here. Here's the business entrance, and again, the patio. The second option is for them to extend their patio all the way to the end of the sidewalk, or possibly engaging some of the parking space. So from the store, they can straight go to their patio, and then instead the pedestrians go around the patio, and then this will be a decked structure which connects the level of the sidewalk to the level of street, and then goes by. So when we put this survey out there, and this is my main 2 points from this or questions from this committee, some people had interesting comments on social media, and they said, I'm on wheelchair and it's hard for me to go on curve around this deck design. Some people said, well, we do not like to go and interrupt people, let's say they're eating here, or the workers of the restaurant are walking back and forth. Or some people said, oh, if I'm smoking, I am not willing to put up my cigarette and then pass by a patio. So overall, we want to know your opinion about these two different options, and what is the best perspective in your point of view, and what will be best for in terms of accessibility.
So Madam Chair, do you want Aram to stop sharing her screen for the discussion, or would you like those diagrams left up there?
I think it would be good if they're left up, if you don't mind, and then everybody can refer to them as they're sharing ideas, if that's okay. And as in usual procedure, if you do have a question or a comment, just feel free to maybe perhaps say your name and then just start speaking, just because I do have a limited number of people on the screen that I can see. So does anyone have any thoughts from Aram?
Katie, are either of these accessible? Wheelchair accessible?
Maybe Aram could maybe
Yes,
address that
so
question.
based on the current patio bylaw, each of these options, well, this one is not on the patio bylaw, but this option is, and they have to maintain a minimum distance in order for this passageway to be accessible for everyone. So yes, in order for them to get the patio permit from the city, from the town of Smith Falls, they have to keep that minimum distance in order to make it accessible for the public. And
Yes, but
likewise, the next design will be as well accessible, like the distance will be maintained, but we want to know if that curve is actually an issue and how can we solve it.
So can a wheelchair go up on that patio?
Yes, because it will be the same level as the sidewalk. It
Okay,
will
good.
be built up. It will be on the same level as the sidewalk, so there wouldn't be any difference between the level or the height.
Okay. Okay.
Corey? I think option 1 would be more accessible than option 2 due to the curb going down, like to get into the parking spot. Not all parking spots on the side streets are bent down like Beckwith Street is now. So for me, I think option 1 would be way more accessible.
Jen, I think I like the second option. I think it would be accessible as long as the measurements are okay. Like Corey was saying that it's not flush, the parking, but in case that it's not flush, it's going to be a built deck, right, out of wood or something, correct?
Yes, correct. Something, however, something which is in there, not permanently, but temporary.
Mhm.
Because when the winter season comes, they should remove all that.
Okay. I know that downtown Kingston uses this sort of, actually they've built it in there permanently and it works very well. So
Mhm.
I think option 2 is really good.
Okay.
Anybody else have any comments?
Chris, what do you think?
I was in Renfrew on the weekend and I was really impressed with, they have the option 2. And I was really impressed with how flush it was to the curb. Like it was so well built, it stood out. I noticed how smooth it was. So I think option 2 could be okay as long as it's kind of custom built. Like it's got to be tweaked on the site because every piece of asphalt in the curb is going to have a slightly different elevation. But as long as they can tweak it, you know what I mean, to make that flush and nice and smooth. I don't know if there's any concerns with the deck boarding or accessibility related to that, but the curb was really well done there. And then as Corey says, on Beckwith Street, it wouldn't really be an issue, but on Russell and Main and William, calibrating that might be important. I think for the restaurant, it's probably nicer when the server doesn't have to cross the pedestrian lane to get out. And the smoking makes an interesting point where if somebody was kind of walking between your table and the restaurant with the smoke, it wouldn't necessarily be the best. But yeah, I'm curious to see if there's any issues with the deck boarding or the surface for rolling and for accessibility.
Corey, did you have your hand up?
Yes. I just want to make sure. So is it up to the business to put the patio in themselves, or is it going to be somebody else installing them?
So based on the current patio bylaw, it is the business responsibility to put that in there with their own expenses, because they are taking up the space of the sidewalk and maybe possibly some space of the parking lot. So they are responsible of paying for this and building this, but the town will permit that. So they will come and inspect it and they either approve it or not.
Okay. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Just one final comment. Does anyone have any comment towards how easy or difficult would this be in terms of being curvy with a person with wheelchair passing by?
Ram, if I could just jump in there. Just wondering a couple of things. Firstly, would there be a railing around the outside of a patio if that was the way we were to go?
When you say around the outside, you mean here or here?
Like around the deck, you know?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
there will be. Yeah.
Okay. And just something else, just to make sure that any potential barriers, if you will, could be marked in a way that people with different types of disabilities, for example, visual limitations, could safely use it and safely know where the edges are, just so that there's no.
Mhm. That's a
safety.
great point. I will definitely add that to the list of comments. Thank you.
Just looking, I think that's all I had. Is there anything else? I'm wondering about signage as well for traffic, just so that people wouldn't be stepping out into traffic. Just to make that process safer as well.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right, I think, is there anyone else that has anything? Not seeing anything. Kevin, is there any points you would like to make?
No, I'm good.
You're good? Okay.
I'd
Yeah.
like to make one more point. For option 2, they would be taking over the parking spot. I know they would be paying for it, but that would be another parking spot lost then during patio season. Just a thought there.
It's also a
Um,
good point.
Just to Corey's point, I guess it would be a good idea to make sure that it wasn't accessible parking spaces that were being taken up. Like if you happen to be in front of an accessible parking space, then maybe, I don't know how we would do that, but I don't think that they should be taken up for patios.
That's a very good point.
That's correct. As part of the current patio bylaw, which is still old, but this has been stated that they cannot take over it if it is an accessible parking space. Yeah.
It's good to know. All right, is there any other points? No. Seeing none. Is there? Aram, does that give you the information you need from today? Or is there further?
I would say 90% yes. I still haven't got any respond about how accessible is the curve. Do you think that's something up to the engineering team, let's say, to calculate that, or?
I think that would be right to the engineering firm, because take the ramp at the bank, the CIBC, for example. Every ramp that has to go up that high has a bigger curve or bend than this would. So, and I think that it would be up to the engineers probably.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
I'm wondering, is there any difference to members of the committee on if there's a spacing? Like sometimes you have a deck that has a small gap between each board, and other times, you know, they're flush. I think if they design the patio to be flush with the sidewalk, then there's no change in grade. So that sounds like it's okay from what I'm hearing. But does it matter of what kind of material the deck's surface is made out of, or how the boards are spaced, or anything like that?
It would have to be flat to be accessible so that wheelchairs don't get caught in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
It would have to be
that's-
flush.
Yeah,
Since it's
that's a
only in the
good point.
summer, we wouldn't have to worry about boards expanding and contracting, so you could put them closer together because it gets taken out every winter. And I would also add that it shouldn't be painted, maybe, because if it's raining, it's going to get slippery.
Oh, yes, that's also a good point to think about as well. Really to make sure that finish, regardless of weather, can can stay safe. Yeah, and back to Councillor McGuire's point, I do think it is probably safer if the boards or whatever their material they're using are flat and close together, just to eliminate a bump or an opportunity for a wheel to get caught and cause trouble. All right, is there any other points? Corey?
I'm not sure who to ask this question to, but how many downtown businesses are there that would be looking to do this?
So I did the survey and we got around 12-ish responses back, but so the target of this audience of this survey was to ask everyone, first of all, and second from the business owners. So on the list I made, there was around, again, 10 to 12 restaurants who have a patio already. And we asked also on the survey that is there any other business who is willing to put out a retail display outside of their store as well, because we also consider that. So and it's not mostly, but there are some in the outskirts area outside of downtown and some are inside of downtown, but it's a good portion of businesses.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is there any other points? Kevin, has anything jumped out for you in the further discussion? Seeing none? I don't think so. I think we're safe to wrap things up if everybody's agreeable to that. Anyone have any? No? Okay. So I think that will conclude that discussion around just confirming that that's everything you wanted to address today.
Yeah, thank you everyone for their feedback. And you guys have these surveys. You are more than welcome to fill them and send them to Nadine or send them to me. That would be very much appreciated as well.
Okay.
Around-
All right.
Sorry,
So
Madam
we
Chair.
will thank Ram very much for her presentation and time today. That was very well done, and certainly appreciate the issue coming to the Accessibility Committee and letting us have some input. So very much appreciated. So thank you very much.
Sorry, Madam Chair, I just wanted to ask Aram, is that survey still up on Speak Up Smiths Falls if any of the committee members want to complete it or know of anyone that could help by completing it?
No, this survey is not there because it was up for 2 weeks and we closed it to get feedback. But as I said, the file is available to everyone as I sent it to you, Nadine. And yeah.
Okay, that's great.
Okay.
However, we can put it up there if people want to put more input. We didn't get any feedback. That's why we closed it and it was up there for 2 weeks. So just let me know if you guys want to get more feedback on it. Thank you.
Sure. All right, so I think that wraps up that discussion. I think we can move on to our second priority issue, which is Murphy Park. Ram, I believe, Nadine, you can jump in here, but if you would like to stay or leave, either's fine. I don't think there's any objection. So our second priority issue then will be the Murphy Park that we have been talking about, and I'll leave that to Nadine to address and give some feedback on. So Nadine?
Sure, no problem. So I think further to the last meeting, we were talking about the work plan, and that's also on the agenda today. However, we did compile the notes that we received with respect to the Murphy Park tour that members were requested to go on and attend. So that was circulated with the agenda. I don't know if you want to go through all the comments individually or yes, getting nodding heads. So we can go through the comments individually. And if there's more comments, I'll take notes on those as well. I believe my understanding is that this item will form part of the recommendations in the work plan. So we may attach it as a separate document just because it is pretty detailed. So we'll just go through. So on the first page, there was comments about Abbott Street having no sidewalk on the east side of the street for people traveling south. There's a curb. A curb is a barrier to people trying to cross that street. Next crossing is 1 block north. The slope of the sidewalk towards the river may be greater than 1 to 12 measurements required. And the solution there is to remove the curb and install a pedestrian crossover. So that's one of the first items. Does anyone have any comments on that observation?
Jen?
When we were down there, that the point about the crossing being 1 block north, you actually have to cross the street to use a sidewalk to get to that crossing. There is nothing in that area to cross the street safely.
Okay. So suggesting like a crosswalk or something, is that what you mean, Jen? Like just, okay, perfect.
Yeah, something to slow the traffic before you get to the bridge on Abbott Street. You know, like right across from that sidewalk there is the, is it a Legion building or something? It's for sale right now, but it's right across the street there.
Okay, yes, the RCAF building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so certainly if the committee's supportive, we could put that in the solution as far as, you know, perhaps including a crosswalk of some sort at that area.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Okay. So that's that one. The next item is the water treatment plant. The sidewalk does not connect to the bridge. There's steep slopes towards the water if someone lost control. Grading may not be a 1 to 12 more ratio, and more research is needed. The proposed solution is to connect hard surface to the bridge and adjust grading if required. Extend the bridge railing to prevent someone from rolling down the slope into the water. So does anyone have any comments on that recommendation? No? Okay. All right, so we'll include that one if it's supported. The next one is the Park Avenue. The curb is a barrier to access. No sidewalk on Park Avenue. There's no sidewalk to connect the bridge or water treatment plant sidewalk. And the solution that was proposed is to remove the curb and paint crossing lines to connect the sidewalk on the north side of the Park Bridge and on the south side of the street from James to George Streets. Install an accessible parking spot adjacent to where the curb has been removed. That item was discussed at the last meeting. So is everyone supportive of that recommendation?
Very.
Sitting areas. Benches and sitting areas are not accessible. Swimming areas are not accessible. The solution is to install pads underneath picnic tables. Use a different design of table that is more accessible. Ensure at least one picnic table pad connects to the hard surface trail, and develop an accessible swimming solution. Okay, so we'll include that recommendation. Madam Chair, I'll just wait if there's any comments. Certainly anyone can.
Sure. Is there anybody have any comments on any of those recommendations? I do. Oh, Corey. Yes.
For the picnic tables, you can even just use the wood ones and just extend the seat, and then just extend the table. I mean, and don't add the seat, so the wheelchair can just pull up to the table and eat at it.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. Councillor McGuire.
Thanks, Lucy. And I think you had a great design for people that had issues getting that leg up and over, where
I did.
did the seats kind of come out of the center and you could kind of come in on either
Yeah,
side?
they were a central table, and Nadine, I believe I sent you a file with some pictures.
Yep, I can pull that up right away. Yep.
You don't mind? Might be easier than me trying to explain it.
Yeah, it's hard to try to.
Nope, that's
See
okay.
it.
I'm just going to share. This is the Accessibility North Bay file that you sent me.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm just going to share that screen. Hopefully everybody can see it okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Everybody able to see there okay?
Yep.
So you can see the accessible table there. There's a pad underneath it, and there's just sort of posts with benches further out from the table, so each end is open and there's no sort of attachment otherwise that would impede wheelchair getting in there, or somebody who did want to transfer out of a wheelchair and be on there, so that they could do that safely as well. And you can see there's a nice big area there that if you wanted to leave a wheelchair nearby, if you were getting out of it, you could leave it nearby with no problem at all. So this design really stuck out for me, and certainly shout out to North Bay. They seem to have done a wonderful job with this part.
How big the pad is to get around, you're not, I think we're probably, the pads we've been putting on under our benches so far, even if you were trying to get to them with a walker or something, I guess we need to make them a lot bigger, connect them to the trail the way these examples show, which is awesome. These are great pictures, Lucy.
Yes, and Nadine, if you could just enlarge the picture of the park bench as well, just to show everyone that there's, thank you very much, an option to have pads under benches. And I think having benches in locations where the person's companion or whoever's accompanying them could have a seat as well, and have enough room on either side that the person in the wheelchair could simply just wheel up so they could sit beside their companion but still in their chair if they wanted to do it that way. But is there any other comments or questions?
So Madam Chair, we can certainly include some of those pictures in that document if the committee wishes. have that in, okay?
Sure.
So,
Yeah, I'm seeing nodding heads.
okay, so just moving on, if everyone's comfortable. The next item was Turtle Island, and it was noted that there's no sidewalk on the south side of Park Avenue between James and George Street. There's no sidewalk to Turtle Island Bridge or Turtle Island to reach the seating. There's no accessible seating on Turtle Island. There's a trip hazard where bench pads are higher than the surrounding grade. And the solutions are to install a hard surface trail on the south side of Park Avenue between James and George Streets, connect the trail to Turtle Island Bridge, install a hard surface trail loop on Turtle Island that connects to the seating areas.
Mhm.
And there's many pictures. I think you saw it with the agenda package that are, demonstrate all of these concerns that were brought forward by Councillor McGuire. So certainly, again, we can attach that to the work plan as recommendations.
Councillor McGuire.
And just to thank Corey, Jen, Lucy for visiting the park with me to come up with all of those. They weren't something I came up with. Yeah, I really appreciated that trip to the park we got to do.
Good.
I wish I'd been there. I should have been there.
Never too late, Katie.
No. May I ask a question?
Absolutely. Floor is yours.
The park that is going in beside the library, are we having hard surface paths there or what? They are hard surface. Oh, good. Okay.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yes, and council actually passed an exemption to the procurement bylaw last night with respect to those items. So they are moving forward.
Awesome.
So we will attach those pictures. And then the next set of comments that were provided Councillor Allen sent some beautiful pictures of the beach area that will include demonstrating, the benches without the concrete underneath them, the access to the swimming area, some of the rocks at the swimming area. I think you would have saw them, and where it could be hard to access the water. So the next set of comments received are from member Corey Agnew. And so here he has 4 points listed. So I will share those. Make a handicap accessible parking spot and break down the curb to get wheelchair access on the grass area. And that was also something mentioned in the first set of comments. The sidewalk between the water treatment plant, see if the scale of the slope is correct. And so that was included in the previous comments as well. Have the picnic tables that are accessible, which we've got, and those great pictures that were provided by Chair Bingley, and make a ramp into the beach, not the sand side. So I think those comments were captured before, so we can consolidate those comments and pictures, and that can be attached to the document. And if there's anything else, Madam Chair, we certainly can add that as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Nadine. Is there anybody else that's come up with anything? Nadine, Councillor McGuire.
Thanks, Lucy. I'm wondering if this has been great to have everybody take a look at this section, and if everybody's keen still, maybe our next section could be the George Street to Confederation Bridge part, and we can just keep working our way down, up and down each side until we get it all done. But it seems really neat to do it in small chunks like this. It seems manageable and not too much, because there's so much in such a small section to work on. Is that something people would be interested in continuing with?
Yes.
Awesome.
I think that would be great, because I know certain other places further down do have some thoughts there too. Jen?
This is actually a question for Nadine. If I remember correctly, when Corey and Chris and I went to the park last time, no more than like 3 people could go. Otherwise, it was like an actual meeting or something. So should we schedule meetings to go over places, or just sort of go out as we want to or can get there?
So procedurally, council is still meeting virtually, and committees and boards follow that intent as well. So I would suggest that we continue following that rule, but certainly you can go out in small groups like you did before and make your notes. And then bring them back, and we can do what we did today, and staff can receive any further comments from the joint group.
Okay, I do find it really helpful to go out with more than just myself, though, to sort of like bounce ideas off in the moment where you are.
Absolutely.
Certainly, as long as you don't have quorum, which is 5 of our committee, 5 members of our committee, then you should be good to go. And ultimately, you're not, it's to not make a decision. That's when you're sitting in quorum, if you make a decision, then, that's formed as a meeting. So if you go in small groups, take your notes and bring them back, then we can add them to an agenda and the whole group can discuss it when we have quorum. So, okay, Madam Chair. So, this item actually kind of leads into the next item. So if you don't mind, I'll just move on to it because
Absolutely.
kind of forms part of that. So we talked, this discussion about Murphy Park kind of came out of our work plan discussion. So I'm just going to share the screen because I think there's some members that were absent at the last meeting. So we had talked about the work plan, and I attached it with the agenda. I hope everyone can see that okay. So we had, at the last meeting, we just talked about the work plan that had been compiled, and I always thank Katie and Lorraine for taking the initiative to build this draft. And then the committee has been over time working to add to it, to make it and massage it and make it their own. We have modified the template. So the last meeting they talked about having the goal and the vision. So we've included both of them on the title page. And then some of the other things are, the addition of some of the pictures that we've included. We included the map. And I'm just going to roll down to the end because a lot of this was included. We reviewed the achievements, and I think one thing that we need to add under the achievement is that you have now been consulted by the planning department on the patio bylaw provisions. So we'll add that to your achievement as one thing that you've been consulted on. And then we looked at some of the municipal achievements. And then at the last meeting, we talked about the recommendations for council's consideration. And so I'm just going to review the ones in green because those are the ones we added at the last meeting. So strategic plan priority, continue to include accessibility as a priority in future strategic plan reviews. And as everyone's aware, we are going into municipal elections later this fall. And following the election, the new council will meet to review and go over their strategic plan and build their strategic initiatives for the next term of council. So this would be a recommendation, as well as the new council members will receive the accessibility document, so they're aware of where our committee's at. Accessible parks, it was added to create an accessible parking space at Murphy Park and remove curbing so that the park can be easily accessed by all. And then the trails, consider more accessible trail treatments so that everyone could travel on the trail. Work with stakeholders to ensure that public trails are accessible to all, treatment and access points. Access to downtown storefronts, have the municipality research accessibility grants for special projects. Consider providing grants to businesses under the community improvement program to enhance accessible features at their business. And then in addition to that, we just discussed what we've discussed today, which is the Murphy Park recommendations. So they can be included in there. I would suggest that we conclude a paragraph that the committee did review this area as part of, possibly phase 1 of their review, and here's the recommendations to date. That's what you wish. I believe that was the direction at the last meeting, so I just wanted to confirm that.
Mhm.
Corey.
I'd like to put a motion on the floor then to give this to council. So that would need to be seconded by someone. So. Seconded by Katie. There we go. Have a motion on the floor. We have quorum so we can do motions. This is amazing.
So if I understand correctly, you would support me just making those changes, kind of adding in the recommendations from the documents that were circulated in that table for Murphy Park.
Yep.
And then you don't want to meet again. You're adopting that document right now to go to council, or did you want to see it again before it goes?
I think we're good to just adopt it personally.
So everybody's supportive of just moving ahead with that. Councilor McGuire.
So Lucy, yeah, I think it'd be great to get this to council. And since this parks project is kind of evolving into almost a standalone thing, maybe it would be good to have complete the parks accessibility plan. And then we don't need to have, Nadine doesn't have to be editing it and tweaking it and then bringing it back to the meeting every time we complete our section, because we'll probably, like, I could see this process, it'll probably take us a couple months or even a year to get it all together. And then it just kind of, it makes this a standalone. We can get to work on the plan. I don't know, what do people think about that?
Yep.
Yeah. I think it's always good to leave room for changes and improvement. Yeah. And Nadine.
So thank you for that. I'm just wondering, so are you wanting me to remove any of the things that were brought up about accessibility and just say that the committee is conducting a parks accessibility plan and that the recommendations will come forward upon completion? Is that what you're thinking? Or do you want the ones to stay in there for now and just a note that you are completing a parks accessibility plan and that the recommendations will come forward at a future time?
That second option.
More,
Good.
I think
Second option.
yeah, I'm thinking second option as well.
Okay, so I will leave everything as is, and I'll add just those comments from the current review, and I'll put a note in there that the committee is completing a parks accessibility plan or review, and that presentation will come forward and from the committee, or recommendations will come forward from the committee upon completion. If that's correct. Okay.
That sounds great, and I do think that will also leave the door open, so to speak, for Dan Andrus, who is not present today, and Councillor Allen, who is not present today, to put their feedback forward as well, if they have any additional.
okay.
So Madam Chair, procedurally, I'll make those tweaks. I will send it out to the committee just so that they're aware of the document that will be presented to council. And we'll work on getting that on an agenda probably in August, or I'm guessing it'll be August when council has their meeting again. So certainly I'll let all committee members know when that staff report will come forward with the document. You're welcome to view, as well as, the chair is welcome to attend. So we can, we'll get that compiled.
Okay.
Everybody fulfilled there?
Yep.
I think everything is done
We
there. Nadine just confirming that's, oh, Corey, I believe you.
I just want to make sure, do we have to vote on that motion now, or have we voted on it? Just to make sure it does go forward.
So in the minutes, we have moved by Corey, seconded by Katie, and certainly, yes, the chair just needs to confirm the vote.
Katie.
No,
I'm just going to vote yes.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I think that's the way we should be going as well.
So Madam Chair, if you can just confirm, I know everyone nodded before and they're nodding again, but if we could just get confirmation from Kevin as well that he's supportive.
I think the best way to do it, Nadine, if that's okay with you, is just go around my screen. and
Sure,
just,
that's great.
Yeah, so Katie, could I have your, yes?
Yes,
Corey,
Yes, in favor.
Jen,
Yes.
yes, Councilor McGuire. Yes. And Nadine, I'm not sure if Kevin has
Left the
left
building.
us, or I don't see him
he's-
on my screen.
Yeah, he just, I see he just dropped the line, so we will mark that he's left the meeting.
Okay,
So just, Madam Chair, just your support, if you can confirm.
Yes.
Minutes.
absolutely. And
I think
okay, so I
that,
think,
sorry, Madam Chair, I think that's it for that item, if the committee is supportive.
I think that's good. Everybody is okay to move on? Yep. Okay, so I think that wraps up today's proceedings. I think all of our priority issues have been addressed. So now we will move on to just discussing when our next meeting shall be. And I know that in previous discussion, I think August was sort of talked about. So is there any, Jen? I believe you're muted, Jen.
Yeah, I was trying to, yeah, it wasn't working. Anyway. I'm starting, I have another commitment, Tuesday, Wednesdays and Thursdays from 10 till 2. So as long as it's like 2:30 and later, I can do it, or Mondays and Fridays.
Okay. Good to know. Thank you. We'll make note of that. Does anyone else have anything that Nadine?
So Madam Chair, what I was going to recommend is if this item's to go to council and you don't want to meet again, you've already given direction to move forward, we can work on that. But you had discussed doing another review of another park area. So I'm just wondering if maybe you should talk about when you want to do that and then plan your meeting following that so that the items can be submitted and discussed at the meeting.
That would be a good idea, Councillor McGuire.
Yeah, maybe if we took kind of the next month or so, and with people taking vacations and stuff, tried to get the next section wrapped up by the end of summer, and then maybe early September or late August, we could come together again.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
So everybody, I think that's a great idea. Is everybody supportive of that? Yeah. Okay. So
if it's okay, Madam Chair, we can certainly look at some dates of availability and
sure.
Maybe what I'll do is I'll touch base with the committee at the end of August to make sure everyone's reviewed that area, and then we could book a meeting in September, perhaps even on a Friday. That way, it works for Jen. I know Mondays we have town council, so it's pretty busy around here, but maybe a Friday would be better, and we can get that the booked for the committee.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Okay, so I think we can adjourn our proceedings today. I think we're wrapped up if everybody's okay to do that. So I'll have someone motion to adjourn the meeting. Corey, thank you. And could I have someone second him, please? Jen, thank you. All in favor? All right, I think we're good to sign off for today, but I thank everybody for being here and for your input and cooperation.